Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Adam the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Super Snipers, a polyomino lane sci-fi duel by Galen's Games. In this post-apocalyptic title, two players will each take on the role of a genetically and cybernetically enhanced super soldier.
Don't tell me you're going to wear those sunglasses during a night operation.
My vision is augmented.
Each player will be attempting to shoot their opponent 3 times before their foe can manage to do the same. There's also a number of variants included, including a couple of different solo modes. I'll touch on those in a little bit. Please keep in mind that this is a prototype based off of the tabletop simulator demo. As such, nothing herein is finalized, and anything seen herein is subject to change. Beyond that, I have been promised a review copy if the game successfully funds on Kickstarter. I will always endeavor to give my full and honest opinions on any title, but please do bear that in mind as you watch. If you're playing with the official Tabletop Simulator mod, setup is largely automated, but for those who will eventually be playing with a physical copy, we'll go over it all the same. To begin, each player will take a scope board along with 3 location grids. Place your bullet token onto the scope board and place your ready token by the location grids. After that, take 2 recalibrate tokens and 1 each for the bonus tokens: Tactical Advantage, Exchange, Concentrate, and Move. Flip all these face down except for the recalibrate tokens. Now each player should gather 3 damage trackers, 3 innocence meeples, an adrenaline token, and 3 target grids. You'll be using these in a little bit. If playing the real-time mode, each player will also need a 10-second hourglass. After basic setup, each player will need to choose a character. There are 4 to choose from, but the designer recommends picking either Jane 8 or Sirius for your first game. You'll take your character's basic power card and place it face up, as well as their adrenaline power card, which you'll set face down. You'll also need to take their 3 hiding cards, which are expected to be replaced by circular tokens in the final version. Each round consists of 3 phases. The first is the hide phase, which is the shortest and simplest of them. Each player will take their hiding cards and secretly place 1 in front of each of their opponent's location grids. This shows where you're shooting from for this round. The second phase of the round is the locate phase, where you're trying to find which location your opponent is hiding at. To begin the phase, you'll make sure that both of your recalibrate tokens are face up. After that, randomly draw 3 tetrominoes, called focus, drawing them 1 at a time and arranging them into a line beside your line of sight indicator. Players will take turns simultaneously, using their ready tokens to indicate when they're finished with their turn. Your goal during the target phase is to make sure that the crosshair space is isolated from all edges of the board. That is to say, there must not be any path by which you can trace from the center of the board to an edge. On your turn, you'll take the first focus in your line of sight and place it on one of your location grids. You may rotate and flip the token as you see fit, but it must be placed so it touches an edge or corner of the board. You may not cover the crosshairs in the center. If you manage to cover a surveillance space with a tetromino that matches one of its colors, you'll take a focus from your bag and place it in the surveillance area for later. After both players have finished their turn, shift your line of sight tiles over and add a new one to replace the one that you used. This will be done automatically for Tabletop Simulator users when you flip your token back to ready. On subsequent turns, if placing a focus onto the board that already has that color, then you must place it so that all tiles of the same color are touching. However, the new tile no longer has to be along an edge. You may not overlap any tiles, so plan ahead carefully. You successfully isolate the crosshairs, flip over the card to see if your opponent is hidden at that location. If not, continue the locate phase until you find them. Otherwise, you'll advance to the target phase. Before we get to the target phase, I should briefly mention recalibrate tokens. You may spend these during your turn in both the locate and target phases to either discard the leftmost line of sight token and immediately draw as normal to replace it, or you may use it to discard a focus that's already been placed on the board. When you do this, you'll flip 1 recalibrate token face down. You may choose to skip your own turn to regain both of your recalibrate tokens, flipping them face up immediately. Bear in mind that you'll automatically flip them face up at the start of a new round. Once a player has located their opponent, they move on to the target phase. Keep in mind that if one player reaches the target phase first, the other player will continue to act in the locate phase until they manage to find their foe. If taking turns, you'll need to pause the game for a moment as the player entering the target phase takes the target board that matches their foe's location, in this case location 3, and sets it upon their scope board. They'll place a meeple on each of the innocent spaces and place their opponent on the crosshair. Your objective is now to isolate the innocents so that they don't get caught in the line of fire, as well as to trap your foe within the kill box, making it so that they have no path out. Additionally, you'll want to make sure that there's room for your bullet triomino so that you can make the shot when the time finally comes. You'll immediately be able to place all of your surveillance tiles on the board in any order you choose. Keep in mind that the rules for placing focus tiles on the target board are much the same as the location boards. You must start at the edges, light colors must connect to one another, and you cannot overlap tiles or the crosshair. Similarly, you may not cover innocents. You're a soldier, not a murderer. Additionally, if you cover a bonus space with a tile of the matching color, you'll flip over the matching bonus token and now be able to use it. These grant you different abilities to use during the target phase, such as starting a new chain of a single color or moving a tile that's already been placed, but most of them can only be used once. Once you've successfully isolated both your target and all innocents on the grid, and you can fit your bullet onto your foe within the remaining spaces, you may take the shot and your opponent takes 1 damage as a result. At the end of the round, the player that was victorious will discard the location they were hiding in. That spot has been compromised and cannot be used again. They'll also remove one of their miscards from play as a result. The winner will also flip over their tactical advantage token, allowing them to rearrange their line of sight 1 time during the next round. However, the loser will gain 2 advantages in the next round. Firstly, they'll be able to use the adrenaline triomino during the next round, choosing to use it in place of their next line of sight token. Secondly, they'll also have access to their character's unique adrenaline power. In case of a tie where both shoot each other simultaneously, players will receive all effects of both winning and losing the previous round. Players will then start a new round, and play will continue like this until one player has managed to shoot the other 3 times, at which point the survivor is declared the winner. I also mentioned a real-time variant, and it's really quite simple. Instead of using ready tokens, players will each take a 10-second hourglass at the beginning of the game. At the start of each turn, you'll flip over the timer and cannot start your next turn until it runs out. To begin another turn, you must once again flip over the timer before doing anything else. Because this limits how fast your turns can go, it adds a time pressure to the game without turning it into a dexterity title. For players that want a longer game, every location and target grid is double-sided. The opposite side will be more difficult to deal with, making for a longer game or allowing you to use it as a handicap for newer players. The game also has a couple different solo variants. When playing contract mode, you'll play roughly the same as a standard turn-based game, but with an AI opponent. On the other hand, hostage mode is a real-time variant meant for expert players, where you'll be facing off against not 1, but 2 snipers. And to make matters worse, they have, you guessed it, hostages that you have to rescue in the process. As this is a digital prototype, I cannot go into component quality at this time. What I can say is that this is a very unique direction for polyomino titles, with an aggressive, in-your-face game where players are directly competing with one another, albeit no less thinky or puzzly than other, more peaceful polyomino titles. The flow of gameplay is quite unique, and I do rather like the catch-up mechanics included. On the downside, it is possible to simply get a bad draw of focus. Recalibrate tokens do of course help to a degree, but there will still be a few times where you just can't get a break. It's a lot like a card game in that regard. Skill is generally going to be the ultimate determinant of who wins or loses, but there is a bit of a luck factor still. On the subject of theme, it's mostly positive. I do really like how each of the tiles represents a different aspect of lining up your shot. White represents breath control, orange represents timing, and purple represents environmental awareness. On the downside, I don't understand why you have to isolate the innocents from the edge of the board as well as your target. Obviously, you don't want them in the line of fire, but why can't they leave? All in all, this is a fun, medium-light dueling game, and I'm excited to see how the final product turns out. But while it will be a while before the finished game is released, you can try a fully playable version on Tabletop Simulator right now. This has everything that you need to play both the standard turn-based and real-time modes, as well as both of the solo modes. There's also a great deal of scripting to make things easier to set up and play. As of the time of writing, Super Snipers intends to launch on Kickstarter on October 18th. If you're interested in backing it on Kickstarter, trying it out on Tabletop Simulator, or simply learning more, links are included in the description. What about you? What do you think of Super Snipers? What polyomino laying titles do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.